Hello everybody, it's Ash here from the Conscious Jungle. Happy Sunday, happy Mother's Day to everybody. I am a mother of 3 young boys, but we live in a home with my mother as well. So I thought this Sunday I would cook a really yummy family meal for us all together. One of my mum's favourite meals is a beef Wellington. So I thought it's really involved. It doesn't have to be as involved as I make it, but that's me. I like to be a little bit difficult, so I make it a bit more involved by making my own puff pastry and things like that. So this is part 1 of a 2-part video because this is my preparation phase, and then I'm gonna come back again at 5 o'clock and show you our finished product and also what else I'm gonna be serving our beef Wellington with. Let's get cracking. So I've got my Thermomix here. I said before, I'm Ash from the Conscious Jungle. I have a Facebook group called Thermomixing with the Conscious Jungle. So I do most of my cooking at home in a Thermomix. This is a TM6 and it's connected to my Wi-Fi and has access to over, I think it's 60,000 recipes on the machine. So what I've got here is a quick puff pastry. You can't really see it, but I can pop that in the comments later, the recipes that I've used through the Cookie Doo platform. Excuse me. So this is a quick puff pastry. One of the things I love about Thermomix is the dough and the kneading function is just next level. Really takes the time factor and the labouring out of the kitchen. So what it's asking me to do is to go in with 200 grams of chilled butter. So I'm just opening up my butter here. I get this from the local IGA, and I buy my butters in parchment paper, so I can then hold on to those parchment papers and use them to line my muffin trays, my cake tins, and then ultimately I compost those parchment papers. Hi Mel, how are you today? Happy Mother's Day to you. Oh dear. I'm very much looking forward to this dinner tonight. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Never cooked a beef Wellington before, so you can learn with me as we go. I'm all about trying new things, and I have full confidence in using the Thermomix because, you know, it is a guided cooking. It has been tried and tested, these recipes, in the Thermomix test kitchens. So my scales on my machine are at 0, so what I'm going to do is just go straight in with my butter, and the scales go up by 1 gram increments, and it will tell me when I've reached my 200 grams. 124, 163, 85, ooh, 193, 200, perfect. Hi Meg, cool mum, happy Mum's Day, thank you. 200 grams of plain flour. It's a Sunday, right? I cook slowly on a Sunday. Monday nights when I normally do my presentations, I'm fast and I'm quick and I'm talking faster than my brain can keep up with. Not today. Today's a Sunday. Today's a relaxing day. So there might be some pauses and whatnot, but bear with me. Ali, I'm just cooking live. Okay, sweetie, can you go back to Daddy? Daddy's in the shed. Excuse me. So I've got 200 grams of cold chilled butter, 200 grams of flour, 90 grams of chilled water. Keeping in mind, this is not a traditional puff pastry, this is a quick puff pastry. So we're really taking the process from hours and hours down into a 1-hour period. Oh, I don't have my salt out of the cupboard, I'll just get that, excuse me. There's my salt. We're going in with half a teaspoon of salt. I like to guess. I really just don't like making extra dishes with spoons and knives and things. So we're going to put my lid on, click next, and that's just going to mix for 20 seconds. So just going over that for the quick puff, 200 grams of cold chilled butter, 200 grams of plain flour, and 90 grams of chilled water. Oh, and a half teaspoon of salt, because salt's a really great thing to add in, and what does salt do? Brings out the flavour. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to transfer it onto my silicone baking mat. The silicone mat, just for a real good example here, is what the Thermomix is asking me to do is to wrap my pastry square into cling wrap, cling film, glad wrap. And you know what I say to that? No way! No way am I wrapping it in cling film. Instead, I've got this silicone mat, and it's going to serve the same purpose. Cling film is something that we cannot recycle, we cannot red cycle, so we're really best to try and phase that out of your kitchen. If you do want to know more ways to try and phase out cling wrap out of your kitchen, do ask me and I'll happily come up with some suggestions for you, troubleshoot where it is in your kitchen you're using it and how we can reduce that. So it's quite a sticky dough, but I'm just going to wrap that one up, and then what I'm going to do is you can either pop that in your fridge for 20 minutes or you can pop it in your freezer for 5. So I'm going to go pop it in my freezer, which is just behind you all. And then what we're going to do is you're going to come over here with me, walking, moving. All right, excuse me, I'm one of those people, I just leave my doors open. Shut that door. Okay, how much butter and flour, Meg? It is equal parts, 200 grams of butter, 200 grams of flour. I might need to turn my light on here, turn my fan off. Ooh, that's not off. All right, so now I've got a topside roast, which I got this one from Gippsland Artisan Meats. They are a beef supplier, farmers in Vervale. Sorry, I just needed to grab a chopping board. Yes, Gippsland Artisan Beef. They are farmers of Angus beef in Vervale. They are also part of the Shop Cardinia program, so you can order their meats and products through the Shop Cardinia. It's a great way of networking and connecting local consumers to local producers. So I've got my topside beef. I'm going to lower you down with my beefy hands. All right, you don't need to look at my face for this one. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take the top fat layer off, because this is a very big portion of beef, and I don't need that all in one thing. So now I'm left with a pretty even roast here, and I'm going to salt and pepper that, and then I'm going to sear it. So I'm just going to get my hob on, and we're going to sear our beef. Oh, where's my salt? Where's my pepper? In my magical cupboard. My pepper's not here. There it is. Okay, salt and pepper. Help if I opened it, wouldn't it? There we go. There's my pepper. Like I said before, guys, it's a Sunday. I cook really slowly on a Sunday. So if you're in for something, if you're wanting something really fast, today's not the cooking one for you. I'm just going to flip that over. Salt and pepper the other side. I don't have any oil in my my pan. I'm just going to go straight in. Might wait a little bit longer for that to get a bit warmer. Okay, move those out the way. Yeah, I think we're good. I think that pan is nice and roasty toasty. So I'll pop my beef on. Oh yeah, hear that sizzle. Nice. Okay, I'm just going to give my bowl a quick rinse from my pastry. So I'm just popping a little bit of water in that. You guys just enjoy the sizzling beef while I go wash my bowl, yeah? Coming back, I do have 2 bowls, but I got a little bit cleaner. I prepped everything in the other one before. Oh yeah, it's smelling good already. So all I'm doing is I'm just searing that beef. So we're just gonna leave that beef to sear, and I'm gonna take you back over here with me while we get the rest of our beef Wellington on the go. Ooh, where are we? Up there, that's where we are. We're sliding to the side. Excuse the technical difficulties. I've got you in a jar of sugar in a stand, so yeah. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of my puff pastry recipe now because I know what I'm going to do with that. All I'm going to do is 3 times I'm going to roll that out, fold it over, pop it back in the freezer, take it out, roll it out, fold it up, pop it back in the freezer, and then that's going to be done. So now I'm going to go into my beef Wellington recipe. So I'm going to say start cooking. It wants me to use dry porcini mushrooms. I'm not doing that, so I'm just skipping straight across to where we come in with our mushrooms. So because I'm not using the dried porcini mushrooms, I'm just using the fresh button mushrooms. So I'm going to add in 300 grams of fresh button mushrooms and the 150 of the porcini mushrooms, but I'm substituting with just button mushrooms. I also have a shallot, or it asks for 2 shallots. I just have onion, so I just put 1 brown onion in. And so that was 100 grams of onion. Now I'm going in with 450 grams of mushroom. And all we're going to do is just chop that. 7 seconds. Alright, let's have a look at how that chopped mushroom's looking. And my locking arms open. Alright, so it's chopped down the bottom, but it hasn't really chopped up the top. So if I give that a bit of a stir, you'll see we've got chopped here and not chopped there. So I am just going to repeat that process again. So I'm going to go back 1 step, and we're going to chop. Oh, that sounds better. Okay. So the next step after we've chopped our onion and chopped our mushroom, look at that. Now we've got this beautiful paste, because this is what's going to go between the puff pastry and our beef. We're going to have this beautiful mushroom paste. So we're going to add in just a little bit of butter and get that one sauteing. So about 50 grams of butter. And we're going to leave that one. We're going to scoot on back over here. Excuse my messy rest of the house. Here we are. And that is looking delicious, smelling delicious. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm just searing it. So I'm just, oh, Luke could tell you more about why we seal meats. Hold the juice in and all of that. All right, let's scoot over here. I reckon it's been about 5 minutes since I put our puff pastry in the freezer. So I'm going to get that one out. Scoot you guys over there. So go to my freezer. Grab my puff. I am going to need to add a little bit of flour to this puff because as I open it up, you can see it's quite sticky. That's why we need to keep popping it back into the freezer because we really want to keep that butter nice and chilled. So I'm just going to flour it, peel it off. Alright, and then flour the other side too. So what we're looking at is just to get a nice rectangle. Like I said, I'm going to keep flouring because otherwise it's just going to get stuck everywhere. What did we do the other day? Last Monday we did a pasta dough, didn't we? So today we're doing a puff pastry. So did you see what I did there? I had a rectangle and then I just folded it into itself. And then, because it is quite wet, I'm still just popping a bit more flour on there. I've just given it a quarter turn, so turned it the other way. And now I'm doing it again. Another quarter turn. Another rectangle, fold it in on itself. I'm going to do this one more time and then we're going to pop it back in the freezer, fold it in on itself, and last time before we're going to pop it back in the freezer, just a little bit more. So what we're doing is by doing this, this process, we're creating layers. For a really nice puff pastry, we want flaky layers, and in order to achieve that, we need this process. So So now I'm going to wrap that one back up, and into the freezer it goes for another 5 minutes. Give me a moment, guys. All right, back over to our beef, which is searing so nicely. I do just want to get a little bit of a sear on the sides there. So I'm just going to stand here and hold that one and get that searing on the side. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to let this one cool down for a little bit before we go ahead and assemble it. Has anybody made beef Wellington before? I was talking to my mum because it is, like I said, it's one of her favourite dishes. It's something that she enjoys to eat. When she used to make it when I was a kid, she used to use pate as the mushroom layer instead of, you know, you'd have your beef fillet, and then she would put puff pastry down and put pate on there. I'm going to be cooking pate tomorrow night to show you guys just how easy it is to cook your own pate using chicken livers from Luke from the meeting place. So there's our beef. I'm just going to go set this one aside. Ooh, we're a bit steamy. I'm going to have to turn this on. I'm smoking up. All right, and that is our beef seared. So let's go back over here. You guys go up there on the shoebox. All right, so we've got our mushrooms in here. We've got our puff pastry working away in the freezer. And it says line a baking tray with baking paper. And what that's going to be is because we're going to roll out our puff pastry onto that to assemble. I'm not going to line a baking tray with a sheet of parchment paper because I've got my silicone mat, so I'm just going to use that. So that is our mushroom sauteed. You're going to add some thyme leaves into this. I haven't been back to the community garden, so I haven't got myself any thyme leaves. So you can see that. It smells heavenly, and all that is mushroom. Oh gosh, yeah, it smells so good. So it's asked us to add in a little bit of wine. Don't judge me, guys. I'm gonna go get my wine supply. Hang on a sec. Look, I buy in bulk, right? This is the way of my life, buying in bulk. All right, a little bit of salt, a pinch of salt in there, a little bit of pepper, and I added in about 60 grams of wine. And now we're going to let that one, whoop, sorry, I didn't put the lid on properly. We're going to let that one just reduce down a little bit more. So again, that's been 5 minutes. I'm going to go grab my puff pastry out of the freezer and continue on with that process. All right, here's my puff. It's looking so lovely. Has anybody made puff pastry before? Or do you buy the ones that are already rolled out in the sheets from the freezer section? What is your choice when it comes to puff pastry? Have you ever thought about making your own puff pastry before? Now that you see how quick and easy it is, like in all reality, it's really not that hard, you know? Especially on a Sunday when you've got all the time in the world just to enjoy and relax. So again, I'm just rolling it out into a rough rectangle, and then I am folding it over 3 times and then turning it, just adding a little bit of extra flour to my surface. So I do that until I've rolled it, turned it all 4 quart turns. You've just booked some salmon steaks for Mum for lunch. Awesome. Cooked or booked? Autocorrect. I reckon I'm going to surmise that you've just cooked some salmon steaks. All right. I'm going to do this one more time. Pop it in the freezer. And then that will be it. That means that I've done the rolling out process. How many times was it? 2? 3? I've lost count. There we go. back in the freezer you go until your last rolling out. Alright, so what do we got here? So how do you know when your beef Wellington is cooked to perfection? That is the ultimate question. You can't really feel it because it's going to be wrapped up in pastry. So one of the things that I've got, which is super cool, is this. Does anybody have a meter, a thermometer, a meter for cooking? Beefs and meats and stuff? My hands are a bit sticky. So this is it. And one of the cool things about this, just let me get my phone up. Maybe I'll lower you down a little bit. Okay, so I'm scrolling over. I've got this app here, meter. Oh, you just can't see it. There it is. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's all connected. And then I've got this here. All right, I'm trying to keep it so that the light, you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So you want to set up your cook. I'm not going to do this yet. I'm just wanting to show you guys how I'm going to know that my beef is cooked to perfection. So I want to set up my cook. I'm cooking a beef. I'm cooking a beef roast. What kind of roast is it? It's a, Jessica, what kind of roast is it? I know it's a top side, but it doesn't say top side here. It's a roast. I'm going to say rump. All right, and then how well do you want it cooked? There you go, can you see that? How well do you want it cooked? Mum wants it medium rare, but you know what? I want it medium well, so I'm going to go that. And then what we do is we say start cook. So we will stick this meter into our piece of Wellington, making sure that we cover right up to this little safety notch that's here. I don't know if you can really see that. And then we're going to start the cook. And what's going to happen is it's going to have our estimated cooking time. And then it's going to click and say, yep, this is cooked to perfection. Take it out of the oven. And then what's going to happen is it's going to have a resting time. So that's just a little bit of info for how I'm going to know that my Wellington is cooked. That's how I use that. So these beef meat thermometers are a really handy thing to have in the kitchen. You can use them for on the barbecue and things like that. This one is available through Thermomix. You can ask me if you want to know how to get in touch with that. I'm just going to scroll through, excuse my finger, what's my comments here. 3 salmon steaks from the fish guy, but Garfield Fresh. Yeah, the fish guy at Garfield Fresh, he's awesome. I always get my prawns and things off of him. They're always super duper fresh and lovely. And yeah, nice to support somebody else local, isn't it? What am I doing? I'm going to stop that. I think that that's had enough time to cook. And then I'll just show you that. It's a bit hard with the steamy factor. So that's our mushroom mixture. Our go the medium rare and serve the end pieces to you. Okay, Meg. Okay, I will. Yes, Mum. All right, I've got my puff pastry in the freezer. That's ready. It's good to go. I'm right to roll that one out. I've got my mushroom filling layer ready to go. That does need to be cooled down though, so I am going to wait for that. So the process from here on, I'm going to roll out my puff. I'm going to brush it with some beaten egg. I'm going to layer on my cooled mushroom mixture, and then I'm going to pop my beef fillet in the middle, and I'm going to roll that up. Then I'm going to brush it with more egg, score it to get a nice little pattern going on there and help that really puff up nicely. And then I'm going to sit that aside and rest. We're going to be serving the meat will keep cooking. Yeah, so this meat thermometer, Meg, what actually happens is it tells you the resting time. So you pull it out of the oven because it tells you to, because it knows all, and it's going to calculate in that cooking time and that resting time to make it the perfect, cooked the perfect way that you want it cooked. Be that medium rare, well done, very rare. Okay. Let me just check with my paper before I jump off. This is a two-part two-part show. So I will be back later. So we have seasoned our beef, we seared our beef, we made our quick puff pastry, which we then put in the freezer and rolled out into thirds. We've chopped our onions and our mushrooms. You can add a little bit of thyme in there too, which we've chopped and we've cooked, and we added a little bit of wine into that. We're going to make sure we've got our cooled mushroom and cooled beef. When we roll out our puff, we're going to put brush with egg, brush with our mushroom mixture. We're going to save some of that mushroom mixture because the pan that we cooked our beef in, let me go get that. All right, all of that chunky, crispy goodness, we're going to deglaze that later with a little bit of our mushroom mixture and a little bit of wine to make a delicious gravy to go on top. I'm going to serve tonight's dinner with some mashed potato and some steamed carrots, and that is going to be cooked while our Wellington is in the oven. So I've got my layered system here. So what I've got here is I've got my carrots all chopped up and popped into this aroma, which is aroma. So see how it's got some holes there? So it's going to sit on top, and all the steam's going to go up and steam that perfectly. I've got my potatoes in here, and that's going to mash and cook while that steams on top. So once everything goes in the oven and I turn this on, other than deglazing and making my gravy, I'm good to go. We're done. All right. I think that's us done, guys. I'm gonna take some photos and pop that in the comments of the steps while I assemble the Wellington. Otherwise, I'll see you back at 5 p.m. for the finished product and to get the other things on and make the gravy. Happy Mother's Day, guys. It's been a really lovely day. I did want to show you one thing. My Mother's Day present, what did I get? I got 3 little timber hearts from my 3 little guys. And I couldn't be happier. Best Mother's Day present anyone could ask for. See you at 5 o'clock. Bye.